Hi guys, welcome to my channel. I'm Dana and this is Delighted to DIY. If you like thrift flips and budget home decor DIYs, why don't you consider hitting that red subscribe button. In today's video, I'm going to take three various thrifted items, the pair of shelves with hangers, a metal planter or garbage can, and the wooden tray, and turn them into new pieces of home decor. With that said, let's get flipping. For thrift flip number one, I'm going to take the two unfinished pine shelves and turn them into his and hers wall shelves for the bathroom or bedroom. I got these two shelves for $1 a piece from a local thrift store and begun by removing all the stickers. I used my heat tool to help loosen the glue and my scraper tool from Dollar Tree to just help get them off as easy as possible. Once all the tags were off, I began by checking for any loose pegs. I just wiggled some, a few were loose. The ones that were loose, I added some hot glue in the hole and on the end of the peg and just held it back in place. I believe this will hold it fairly strong. If you want an even stronger hold, you could definitely use wood glue for this and try to weight it down. Then after everything was back attached and in place, I gave it a clean using a degreasing cleaner. This one I got on sale clearance at Walmart. I'm not sure if it's still sold, but a TSP or even Dawn dish soap inside some water, will work as well. Then I used my homemade, actually it's not homemade, I used my Behr chalk paint, my white Behr chalk paint, and gave these pieces 2 full coats, letting them dry in between. While the shelves were drying, I went onto my computer and created 2 simple decals and cut them out on my Cricut Joy on some permanent black vinyl. One says his with a mustache and one says hers with a lip imprint. I just eyeballed, guesstimated where these would be center above the pegs and in between the pegs and the shelf, and did this for both shelves, attaching both of my decals. My last step, once the decals were in place, was to give it a coat of water-based polyacrylic. I did this all over both pieces using a paintbrush and letting it dry. Once dry, I just gave it a light sand to make sure that it was as smooth as a baby's bottom. I hope you like this flip. Thrift flip number 2 will be refreshing the metal garbage can or planter. Starting with this metal garbage can that I got for $2.50 from a thrift store. For the purposes of this video, I'm going to call it a metal garbage can because that's what I've made it into. Maybe it was a planter, maybe it was a vase. If you know what it was or what you would call it, by all means, let me know in the comments below. But I began by removing the tag and then giving the entire piece a good clean with a degreasing cleaner. When the piece was all dry, I attempted to paint it with my Behr white chalk paint. However, it wasn't going as planned. I believe I probably should have put either a coat of Mod Podge or a sealer. It was discoloring the white to a tinge of yellow in certain places, but I kept with it after the 2 coats and still not getting it white. I attempted a third in spots, especially where the yellow was. It still kept yellowing. So my good old Bullseye Zinsser 123 primer to the rescue. Luckily we had some warmer days. I was able to zip out into the garage and spray paint it. I gave it 2 coats of the white spray paint, and magnifique, it was white, all white. Sometimes less is more, and in this case, I think I should have gone with the less rather than the more. Anyways, once everything was dry, I thought it was too plain as all white, so I thought I would kind of distress it along the edges, but then I got too much paint on. Anyways, it went from trying to distress the edges of the top band to basically giving it a very heavy dry brushing all along the band with black acrylic paint. I'd love to hear what you guys would have done if you would have left it white. Maybe you would have done something else. Let me know in the comments because maybe it's something I didn't think of that I could use next time around. My last step was to take more of the Behr white chalk paint and a small paintbrush and cover up the spots of black paint that I got onto the white. And that is it. I hope you like this one. Let me know, good or bad. I'd love to hear it all. And I want to thank today's hosts. This is part of the open Third Thursday Thrift Flip challenge hosted by Tammi from the Rusted Willow and Elizabeth from Southern Gmore Girls. They're both great DIYers and thrift flippers. I will have links to both their channels in my description box below, as well as a link to the playlist where you will be able to see a bunch of other DIYers flipping thrifted items. And if that's not enough for you to do, if you're enjoying my thrift flip so far, why don't you give it a big thumbs up because it really helps my channel. For this last thrift flip, I'm going to refresh this old tired wooden tray. I began preparing the tray for transformation by removing the sticker. This one was fairly easy to move just with my fingers. Then I removed the jute rope handles that were in it. I set them aside because I wasn't sure if I was going to use them, but I ended up putting fresh jute into it just as a newer option because I am hoping to resell this item. And then I gave it a sand with a Dollar Tree sanding sponge, again, to clean it up. And this also brought out some more of the wood grain, kind of removed some of the grunge from it, and then gave it a clean with my degreasing cleaner. Next, I used a stencil that I had in my stash. It was this Hallmark adhesive stencil that I got from Michael's, I think for $5. I can't quite see what it says there, but I got it a while back. You probably can't find it now, unfortunately, but I just wanted a design. So any sort of design that you can find stencil-wise, whether you create it on Cricut or find one at Dollar Tree or make your own, they'll all work. So I removed the stencil and eyeballed it as best as possible with the center of the tray. After I laid it and pressed it down in the center of the tray, I did use some painter's tape because I don't always trust my stenciling skills and going off the mark or off onto the spots that shouldn't be stenciled. So I did tape off where the sides were a bit thinner and then started stenciling. To do the stenciling, I used one of these sponge daubers that I got from Dollar Tree and my white chalk paint by BYEEEE. I start by putting a little bit of paint onto the dauber and then dumping off as much as I can onto a paper towel because less is more, and it's better to give some light coats rather than heavy coats to prevent bleeding. Once I dab it off on the paper towel, then I dab it on to my stencil and just continue repeating this process till it was covered. Once it was covered, I removed the stencil and then positioned it to the left of the stenciled piece that I had just completed and re-stenciled and then completed it onto the right side so that the whole center of the tray would have a continuous design on it. For the areas where I didn't match up the stencils exactly, I went in with the same white chalk paint from BYEEEE and a small paintbrush and just filled in those empty places where there should have been paint. Likewise, if there was paint where there shouldn't have been any, I used just my scraper tool or my weeding tool from Cricut and just kind of scraped out some of the paint where there shouldn't have been any. I wanted to elevate this piece, so to do so, I had some of these natural wood slices from Dollar Tree. 10 come in a pack, and I found they're not all the same size, but what I did was use 4 of the larger size and 4 of the smaller size to kind of make them like a tiered step. So I used my Aleene's tacky glue, clear tacky glue, to glue them together because I felt it would hold better than hot glue in case it was ever dropped. I glued the 2 pieces together and waited it until they were dry. When they were dry, I then used tacky glue as well as some hot glue to put them onto the bottom of the tray in like a rectangular shape. When that was all done, I went and gave the top and sides 1 coat of the Minwax water-based polyacrylic in the matte finish, and then once that was dry, I took some jute rope. It was slightly thinner than the jute rope that came on it, but it still worked out. I put it through the holes, tied a knot, looked and guesstimated on how long I wanted the handles to be. I cut the rope, tied another knot, made it on both sides so that they were roughly as close as possible to the same size handles, and that was it for this project. My thoughts were that these could be a trio that could go for sale in the bathroom, or they could go separately. Let me know how you think you would sell them if you were selling these pieces. I'd love to know your thoughts in the comments below. And as always, if you enjoyed this video, give it a big thumbs up. And if you want to keep watching, here's some more videos I think you might like. As always, thanks for watching, and if you want to see more of this content, like more DIYs and thrift flips, why don't you consider hitting that big red subscribe button to be notified anytime I upload a new video. Bye!